Hello there. I am David A. Specht, the original old dog. If there is anything I have learned in my 30 plus years of life and leadership, I have learned that mindset is everything. Join me and my guests as we explore the positives and negatives of that thing between our ears. This is Keep This in Mind. Good morning and welcome to Keep This in Mind, the show about getting this thing right so that all the rest of the things in your life start to work the way you want them to work. That is what this whole idea is about. The whole concept of the show is shifting your mind to a place where you can accomplish your hopes, your dreams, your desires. Brought to you by SpectHealth.com. And today I am super pumped for this episode. If you've been following me on social media at all this week, you know that this gentleman has really rocked a health journey. He has dropped an entire person off of his weight. We don't talk about losing weight because I don't think he wants to find it again. But I want to introduce my good friend. He was the best man in my wedding. We've been friends for, I'm not going to go to the years because that'll age us. But my best friend in my best man, he was my best friend when I was in the Air Force. And he is one of my favorite clients. Willie Morrison, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you?
I'm good. Willie is in Illinois. Has the weather gotten to you yet? Because it's headed to Middle Tennessee today.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get some snow flurries, they said again today, and that's all wonderful when it's cold, but I don't want it when I don't like just the cold.
Anything's better than Maine flurries, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Maine flurries with inches of snow.
Yeah. So our history is we've known each other for a long time. And
Yep.
We met in the Air Force at Loring Air Force Base, Maine. But we kind of, I won't say lost touch, but our interaction became more sporadic. I used to make the joke when I would text you, here's your annual Merry Christmas text from me, and you would send me something on my birthday or something, once in a while. And it wasn't even every year, right? It was like, it could go 3 to 4 years and then, oh yeah, well, let's reconnect. But I want to talk about what has happened over the last year, because you made a decision to contend for your health. You and your wife both did together. And it started you down a path that has really been nothing short of just shocking. People may look at your face right now and they're like, oh, look, he's a nice looking guy. But, and I'll put a before and after picture up during the course of our interview. But really and truly, when I say you've removed an entire person from your body, that's not a stretch. So would you kind of tell me and tell our audience, how did you arrive to the decision? And then kind of like how things went during the course of that year. And I'll ask some questions in between just to kind of clarify some things.
Okay, well, it was almost a year ago today. My birthday's here in a few days. And I was turning 55, to date myself a little bit. And I stepped on a scale and I saw the results of the scale. It said, hey, guess what? You're going to be 360 pounds probably here in a couple days because you're at 358.8. And for some reason, the number 360 made an impact. 340 didn't do it. And you would think, 300 pounds would have done it. But no, 360, you could not weigh 360 pounds. I was battling type 2 diabetes. Not happy with battling type 2 diabetes, but I was. I was going through what a lot of people, I know from my experience, men go through, where you're just waiting for the day you can retire and everything's going to magically get better. And I was getting close to that. I was about, my projected date was about 5 years. So at that point, and it was just one day after another. My relationships, I have 4 kids, 3 of them, one adopted child, were great, but they were stagnant. like so many times, my marriage was that way. So it was just going through a routine. I had gotten through a routine. I got a master's degree in psychology where I was helping individuals when they're playing video games, young men mostly, because I have a big thing about family. And I just couldn't get out of that rut. And when we say rut, it is a good word to be used, because if you've ever been in a vehicle and gotten in a rut, oh man, it's hard to get out. And I couldn't find the thing. Well, believe in a divine interference or whatever. A friend of mine reached out to me, was talking to me. We went to school together. And long story short, she told me to get a hold of my friend Dave. So we started our journey together. My wife had done a similar thing before, and I never supported her. So we decided that we're going to do it together. And here we are 11 months later. Now, there's been some things in between that's happened. We've had family events. We've had, we have this thing where we call it cousins night, where you get with the cousins, and it's all based around, in the summer, it's all based around barbecue, and in the winter, it's based around Mexican food or holiday food. It's like a continuous once a month Christmas party for the family. And I come from a very large family. My dad was the oldest of 13. So if you can think, if each one of them had 3 kids, how many cousins there are. And now we have multi-generations of this. So there's plenty of food. And I've always been the fun guy and stuff like that. So never drank, never been the alcoholic partaker. So, but I'm still the fun guy. And I found that, you're getting pulled to go back to those old habits. I'm still to this day being pulled back to go and have the barbecues and the good, what we refer to as good things. But I've had to remember why. And that's the thing, being a psychology student, I know that your brain is very powerful, and you got to keep that focused on what you need to accomplish. And that's what I've always done. I've hit some books, read some things, listened to some podcasts, keep myself motivated. And the 11 months has flown by, believe it or not. Keeping myself around like-minded people is a huge portion of what I've done, and, reaching out and, talking to Dave and his wife, Tina, which is awesome couple. And me and my wife's relationship has flourished, to say the least. And, same with my kids. My kids are telling me, I don't know if you guys have ever had this, or you ladies had your children tell you they're proud of you, but there's something to be said for that praise. It's that praise and aspiration from somebody that you want. And I've made some statements in the way, and Dave's hard to come from. One of them I made a couple months into my journey about cauliflower needs to learn its place. It's cauliflower. It's not pizza crust. It's not mashed potatoes, and it's not rice. Well, people, let me tell you, I eat cauliflower pizza and I have cauliflower rice quite a bit. I found out that if you season anything correctly, it tastes awesome. So, but yeah, and I've started doing more. I've started doing more of the cooking myself too. So less of the Arby's and the stuff like that. So
let me ask you this, because you talk about people with big families, and that a lot of our social gatherings are built around food, right? They just are, especially in the United States. Did you realize what you were up against when you started your journey, and did you find yourself, going to an event and just being like, oh no, I didn't plan well? I mean, how did you navigate that in this first year? Because every event would have been a new event for you this first time around.
Right. First time that we came into this first thing, actually, honestly, I brought too much feelings the first time we did it. It's just like, I was like, whoa, I might want this, I might want that. So I brought way too much. And then, of course, the flip side happened. The next time I got together with everybody, I didn't have enough. So I learned the power of water and your drink. And so I just, replaced, instead of reaching for the barbecue chicken wing, I reached for my bottle of water. And you'd be surprised, especially around a family that has a lot of people that drink, there's almost always bottled water, because I guess I'm not experienced this personally, but I guess when you drink enough, you start getting really thirsty for water too. So I've been, I was faced with that, and the surprises that I've come into with this is not the criticism from other fat people. And I can say that because I was a fat people. It's more the just the oh, you're just going to gain it back, from the people that have always been thin. It's, oh, how's your diet coming? And it's like, well, you tell me, what does it look like? Well, are you sick? No, I'm not sick. I'm just made a choice. I don't think people in general understand the power of the mind. That when you set your mind to something, how much can really be accomplished. But yeah, I've made some mistakes along the way. I've made a few mistakes too, but that's the great thing about when you're doing a life journey. It's not about the one pothole. It's about the destination, and being able to correct it, and knowing when you're doing wrong to correct that. And
one of the things you said about that your wife had tried to do something similar before, and that you joining her really kind of moved the needle for both of you. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to have support both inside your household and then maybe in a community larger? I mean, as you well know from our experience together, we have a community of support that we work with. But tell me a little bit about how much that environment difference is, because you go to a job where not everybody's very supportive, and so
right.
how critical is support in your journey?
So it's probably the most powerful thing, because when you get the naysayers that take you down a peg or want to take you down a peg, it's nice to know there's going to be somebody that's on your side. I think most people's fear is dying alone, and there's a reason, because as humans, we're social animals, so we don't want to be alone. As much as you hear that one guy who's a grumpy old man, or that crotchety old lady, whatever you want to call him, that says, I don't like people, I don't want to be around people, deep inside, they don't want to be alone either. So when you're going on a journey where you're changing everything in your life, you need to have, there is actually a portion of this that's called homeostasis, a point in which you feel comfortable at home. And when you make that like-minded people that you're getting around, and that you're able to interact with in a positive way to help you reach your goals, it is key, because you always got that support, that constant feeding, feeding your desire and everything like that. And the other thing is that they've been, especially if you got some of those people have been on that road with you, they'll say, hey, watch out, make a left here, because that's going to be a pothole, and it's going to take you 6 months. It took me 6 months. This way you miss that 6 months, and you're going to be great. And then you get these days when you're like, I'm not doing great, blah, blah, blah. And as far as doing this with my wife, it's nice, because when I have it down, she's usually up. So, when you in psychology, when you treat somebody with a chemical disorder, you're trying to take those highs and lows out of it, so you get this nice middle of the road. And that's kind of what happens with this. We're kind of going back and forth. I'll reach for a jar of peanuts, and she'll smack my hand and give me, say, no, it's not time. Have a glass of water. Or she'll not know what to make, so she's thinking I'm going to go out and get something to eat. No, so I took over the cooking. Because I'm home during the day and I go to work at night. So I took over the cooking. And let me tell you, guys, there's a tip, and I've shared this before. My wife said, the most sexy man in the world is the one doing the dishes, because I don't just cook. I also clean my kitchen when I'm done, because, happy wife, happy life. So, and another buddy of mine said, no, happy house, happy spouse. So it works both ways, ladies. But, and like Dave, you hit upon it, that when you go to work, sometimes you're not always in the most positive environment, and sometimes it's hard. I've been in those. I've been in the job where you feel like the leper, where people are against you at work, and you feel like the whole world's caving in on you. What you got to do is you got to work on your mindset. You really do. You got to get that positive mindset in you, so you can pull yourself out of that and not look at the negative with the positive. It's, we go to work to make a living, and sometimes we don't like what we do, but we're doing it because we have to make that living. And so you're going to find something in it that you enjoy and concentrate on that. That's what I find. Even with the diet, you got to find what you enjoy. If it's stepping on the scale, because that is not mine. Stepping on the scale is asking yourself to be judged by an inanimate object. You're stepping on the scale and it says, try harder. My wife actually bought a scale this week, because our other one, the batteries were going dead, and they told me I weighed 350 pounds. And it's like, no way. There's no way. I know Christmas was bad, but there's no way I gained that much weight. And so instead of replacing it, because, my wife had this fear, this idea that it cussed at her once, she's not going to deal with it ever again. So she bought a new scale, and it actually tells you, try harder. I'm like, wow. When you step on it, if you haven't lost what you wanted to, it says, try harder. It's supposed to be in a nice voice, but I don't know.
I was going to say that yeah.
I'm going to turn that feature off for me.
And that's how the machines take over in Terminator. I'm pretty sure.
That's it.
It starts with a smart scale, and it spreads from there.
Yeah.
Here's another question I have, because I think it's important too. I'm a firm believer that everybody needs a coach in life, that you perform better when you have someone that's coaching you, whatever area it is. I don't care if it's health, it could be finances, it could be athletics. It doesn't matter. You will perform better and do better than you thought you would have with a coach. Talk about the accountability that having a coach has brought to your journey, because I can imagine through these last 11, almost 12 months now, you've had some times where you're just like, you know what? I'm good. I've lost, 25, 30, 50, 60 pounds. I'm good. I'm feeling all right. Tell me about that accountability that a coach brings to your own personal journey.
Well, the main thing is, I like the term, we're health coaches, but I also like to think of ourselves as health mentors too, because it's not, a coach can be that heavy set guy on the sideline yelling at you to do more laps. We all think about that when you're watching football or whatever. Or the guy who used to be able to swim and now he can't because he's just so out of shape. But a health mentor also is a person who's doing it also at the same time you are. And so the experience. And it's nice because when you're having this question, like I had what it was about 3 months ago, Dave, when I approached you and said, man, I'm so hungry when I come home from work. And I come home at 11 o'clock at night. I'm so hungry at night for work. And my coach went and said, you know what, maybe you need to bring in more protein. Maybe what you're doing and to help you get burned. Because it's not about working out at the gym all the time, but let's face it. When you lose 130 pounds, or at the time was 115, you start getting some saggy skin. So you don't want to have the saggy skin, because you start to feel good and you want to show it off. And you don't want to show it off when you wave by and your arms are waving by down here going, hey, see you later. So you want to work those things off. So you start doing a little bit more protein. So having somebody to do that, and especially when you have coaches, not just coaches. And if you ever notice, like if you go and you talk to somebody like Aaron Rodgers, or you talk to somebody like Brett Favre, I know it's all quarterbacks for Green Bay, or Joe Montana, you'd find out that Joe Montana has a coach for his finances. He's got a coach for his workouts to get ready for work. He's got a coach for, what he's going through in the head, because, he's the quarterback. He's got to make the decisions. Same thing. When you have a bunch of coaches, you got one that you can turn to about the business aspect of what you're doing. You got another coach you can turn to about some of the personal conflicts you're running into. And especially if it's somebody you are the best man in their wedding, it kind of helps because you got a background on that. Or you have one that's a little bit more of a spiritual coach. The thing is it'll surprise you who those people are when you get into doing it. You'll be surprised at the ones that come out of the woodwork that you're like, wow. And then not just that, the other key thing is finding people that are in the trenches with you and getting the inspiration from them and knowing that you're inspiring others to do the same thing. That is also a huge key, especially if you're a person like me that's in psychology and want to help people and foster community and stuff like that. That is huge because you're doing what you want, but at the same time, you're working towards your goal. So it's like winner, winner, chicken dinner. You know?
I always often tell people that if you're one step ahead of somebody else, you can lead them because you've already been where they've been. I also tell my clients, and I think I probably told you at the beginning of our journey time together was, look, and not everybody gets Star Wars references. I get it. But I said, you're Luke Skywalker. I'm just Yoda showing you how to use the Force. You're the one that actually has to lift the X-Wing out of the swamp and bring it to you. And you're like, well, I can't do it. And then I have to show you that it can be done, right? That's really kind of the role that a coach plays, is saying, look, I've been where you are, and it's way better on the other side, but you're going to have to go through the process, and I can't go through the process for you. So let's what are some of the life lessons you've learned in the last 12 months? And kind of tell us, one of the things that we didn't bring up early on, and this isn't a short joke by any stretch of imagination, but you're what, 5'7", 5'8"?
5'8". 5'8" and a half. Yeah.
So at almost 360.
Yeah.
So me at 320 at 6'5" looks a whole lot different than you at 320.
Yeah.
And so you were actually carrying a greater percentage on you than a lot of people. So, and how much weight have you lost to this point?
To this point, as of yesterday when I got on the scale, I'm at 132
pounds. That's,
yep.
Not only is that a testimony to your commitment, but I got to believe that there's so many improvements in your life as a result. So kind of take me if you were talking to day one Willie right now, what would you say to him about the last 12 months?
Well, it's kind of interesting you said talk to day one Willie, because you told me to make a video when I first started this. And I did, and I went and watched it a few days ago, and I'm like, oh, wow. So day one Willie, I would probably tell them something that Tina told me is, when you cheat on our food plan, you're only cheating yourself. You're not cheating. It's not cheating Dave. It's not cheating Tina. It's cheating yourself, because you're delaying your own goal. So that's one thing that I would tell myself. Another thing I tell myself is, my goal was to be off of my diabetic medicine like tomorrow. But the truth of the matter is, they use a protocol when you're dealing with things in medicine. And the protocol states that I have to have my numbers good for a year. So from the time I got to where I'm now testing pre-diabetic, in other words, my A1C is in the lower fives, I have to be there for over a year before I lose my nemesis, as I call him, metformin. So, but what I did to metformin was, he's not as strong as he used to be. He used to be 4 pills a day, and now he's a pill and a half a day. So he's just enough to be there. And all the other stuff is, I would tell myself that there's going to be the potholes. Listen to the people in front of you. Don't worry about, as my dad used to say, don't pet the sweaty stuff, or don't pet the petty stuff, pet the sweaty stuff. Take your praises when you get them, and remember them, because when you get the day that's low, you got it in your pocket. You can look back and say, oh yeah, okay, I know where I'm going on this. And another key thing I did is I started doing a journal. I started writing down my thoughts. So every day, it's not a chronicle of what's going on during the day. It's what I'm thinking during the day. And you said a Star Wars reference. Well, this is an Indiana Jones reference. Here. This was my first journal. There's a reason why it looks like this. It looks like this because of Sean Connery in The Last Crusade. I had to have something like this to get me motivated. The only thing I found out is, if you look in there, if you can kind of see, you can't replace the paper. So it's a one-time use. So it's a nice book and now, and then you can look back. You can reflect back to it. You can look back and do it. I don't have enough pictures of before because I was hiding behind the camera. I was not taking pictures of me because I was fat and I didn't like it. And, that's a self-realization now that I look back and see this. And, it's just that whole process is that it will get better. Trust the process, dig in, find your why, and keep it focused. I probably would have put more cards up, keeping me more focused along the way. Of just remember, once somebody once told me a light and a laser are both basically the same thing. Just lasers are very focused, very focused. You don't want to light a room with a laser. You need a light. So there's sometimes you need to be very focused, and sometimes you need to step back and not be focused. The key thing is learning when those are, and you rely on your coaches for that too.
And let's talk a little bit too about the thing that shifted in you through the course of this journey, and actually your wife as well. And that is, you start seeing the world through a different set of eyes, and a set that you want to help other people.
Right.
You said you already had that built in you, but now you've kind of elevated it from the standpoint of you've actually decided to pay it forward and be a health coach yourself. You're taking the lessons you've learned, being just a few, like I said, a few steps down, now 12 months of steps, but steps ahead of somebody else, but still fresh enough in your memory to where maybe that person that just made a resolution but have absolutely no idea of how to get there can rely on someone like you to say, you know what, if he can do it, surely he can help me do it. So I want to make an offer. That sounds weird because it's like, hey, buy now, but that's not what I mean. What I was saying is, if people watching this wanted to reach out to you and ask a little bit deeper questions about your story, or maybe even just find out a little bit more about how you went from A to B, from basically January to January, what's the best way for people to see your story, live and get in contact with you?
Well, one of the best ways is you can find me at Willie Morrison Jr. on Facebook, because I do a lot of stuff on Facebook. Because I'm a computer guy, I'm PC. I know Dave's a Mac guy, but I'm a PC guy. I'm also a Samsung guy, and he's an iPhone guy. So it's funny.
Yeah. Green balloons, not orange, he says.
So that's one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me. And then if you get a hold of me, if you want to get a hold of me and ask me about my journey, or reach out to me to talk to me about health, just drop me a message on there saying, talk about seeing me on this podcast, with Dave, because then I know, because I check multiple times a day my messenger, just to find out, who's out there, what's going on, because I got friends from all over the world. Now I got relatives in England. I got friends from the service that are all over the place. So I'm always checking, and also keeping apprised of what's going on. And get a hold of me, and I'll talk to you. I'm nobody. Basically, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm a guy who ate 3 vegetables, 2 of which Dave and Tina took away from me day one: peas, carrots, and corn. How many of those can I have now, Dave? None. I had to find out what broccoli was. Dave didn't eat any vegetables. I was just a little step above Dave because I had vegetables. They were just the wrong ones at the time. So, but I was a meat and potatoes guy. I'm still a meat guy, not the potatoes. That's why the cauliflower rice is in there. And my favorite flavor of most things was more. That's my favorite flavor. What's your favorite pizza? More. That's my favorite pizza is more. And I used to literally, and it's not a joke. I've heard people refer to it in testimonies before. I used to be the guy on Friday night that I'd come home, I'd call, see if my wife was up. If she wasn't, that was good. That means I got the whole medium cheese sausage and mushroom pizza to myself as I went and would get on and watch a movie, or because I'm a big movie buff. And if I was watching a movie, or if it was that I was going to be gaming, one of the things. And I know people like 55 years old and you're gaming like my son. Yeah, I am. I'm a kid at heart. I mean, if you could see what's around where this camera's not picking up, you would see Star Wars posters, Grugo. You'd see Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm just a kid, and there's Hot Wheels all over the place. That's why my grandkids love me. But it's the whole thing about it is life happens. In life, we make choices. Me and Dave made choices. We moved apart. Dave went back to, at first it was Florida, and I actually went down and saw him down in Florida with my kids. And then he moved to Louisiana. I went back to Illinois because I had family in Illinois. And we, like you said, our annual Christmas card or stuff. I remember one time we had a very awkward conversation about Christian music at one point, because I was getting into Christian music and you probably didn't quite understand what I was talking about at times. And it's just, those are key relationships in your life, the ones that you can come back to. They may not always be there. The ones that you always have in front of you are not always the deepest ones. I have another good friend that we talk when we need to talk. And when we talk, it's like we've never stopped talking. And he lives across the river from me. 5 minutes, I'm at his house. And we're always there for each other. And if you need to get a hold of me and get any of this convoluted mess that is in my head, like I said, reach out to me on Facebook and we can hook up and we can do a journey together if necessary. If not the night, I just add you to my friends.
There you go. And I'll add to this too. Willie is one of the most approachable people that I know. He doesn't put on airs. He's the everyman man. So if Willie's story resonates with you, if his journey is a journey that you want to be a part of, I'm going to tell you, reach out to him. Look up Willie Morrison Jr. on Facebook, because I believe that that's going to be a pivotal moment in your life to begin to contend for your health, because I believe that health matters more today than any time in our history. And I also believe that when you get traction in one area of life, it does affect other areas that you'll take on. And Willie, thank you so much for being on the show today. Again, he made a sacrifice, guys. He got up early. He worked and then got up early to be on the show today. So reach out to him. Look forward to your journey as a result of his story. Like, share, comment, go to specthealth.com. And until next time, remember, applied knowledge is power. God bless.
That is going to do it for this episode of Keep This in Mind. For more, visit davidaspecht.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and remember, applied knowledge is power. God bless.